BookTube, my name is Maria and welcome to my channel MH Books. We're filming in the evening because we, as in me, left my phone in work. And so I had to drive back because I need my phone at the moment, not just to do this filming, but for the actual phone functions of my phone. So I have just wasted 2 hours of my day. So we're filming this on a Monday night, but it should be up in time for Tuesday if nothing else goes wrong. This is a tag for Tag Tuesday. The original tag title is the classic book title tag. Another thing that went wrong is it was missing from my printout or prompts. The tag is originally by Ariel of A Cup of Books. I went and looked at her original tag. I really did love her presentation style. She at the moment only has about 84 subscribers. So I will obviously link this below. So I would recommend at least go and have a look at her tag and see, do you like her? She reads an awful lot of YA and fantasy fiction, which helped with these prompts. These prompts are I was tagged by Alan of Big Hard Books and Classics, and these prompts are based on classic books. So it was a very good tag for Alan to be doing, as he has a channel called Big Hard Books and Classics and he reads quite a few. But obviously you use anything but the classic book as the answer to your prompt. Okay, so we shall start in 2 minutes in. So prompt number 1, A Tale of Two Cities. What two fictional cities or places would you have a hard time choosing between if you were told you would get to move there? Now, I mostly read 3 categories of books. Irish fiction, where I kind of live. So horror fiction, which is not normally fictional places I would like to live in. Worse than horror fiction, literary fiction, which tends to be terribly miserable, and we definitely wouldn't want to live in some of those places. So it's a little bit of a search for me, but I came up with 2. So there's Crosby, Maine, from Olive Again, from Elizabeth Start's Olive Again, and Olive Kitteridge book. I just have that down for another prompt. Which is always, it just seems such a sweet town to me. And another sweet town from cozy crime fiction is Loch Dove. I think Loch Dove, if I had to choose between actually living in one of these fictional towns, Loch Dove would just edge it out just a little bit. But not necessarily. You know, Loch Dove is in these books, and probably in the early 90s in this series at this stage. It's like 36 books and it starts in the 80s when MC Beaton was writing them, and goes all the way up to, she died last year, so it went up to about then. And so I think at this stage I'm about book 10, so I'm about in the early 1990s. And yeah, Highlands of Scotland is not like, you know what I mean, they don't have very good many nice restaurants, and there were some nice walks and things, but both have a wonderful sense of community, so it would be a tough decision between the 2. Okay, Les Miserables. I love that musical. I can't speak French, but I can say Les Miserables. Or Les Mis, as the rest of my family says. Did you want to go and see Les Mis again? What book made you miserable, i.e. cried, yelled, or threw it across the room? I would never throw a book across the room. I drop them all the time, but I never throw one. The last one that made me cry in the Friday reads was Boys Don't Cry by Fiona Scarlett. I'm blaming that on perimenopause because I just kept breaking down. And I was determined to do a proper chat Friday reads and not do an edited one. So I had to keep going back and re-filming. It was annoying. So that one did. But the one that I actually would like to point out is I'm about 2/3 away through Heart-Shaped Box now. And this is something that Amy Zoe Beck has had recently. She's talking about characters and things happening to her characters and she's not liking the author doing it. There's a certain type of character, okay, that keeps getting killed in novels. It happened in this one. It happens in Jess Kidd's himself, her debut novel. And it happens in Anne Griffin's When All Is Said. I think it's When All Is Said, her debut novel as well. There's a certain type of character I really wish they wouldn't kill off in these books. And as I said to Anne Griffin when I met her, will you stop doing that? You keep making me cry. I'm more upset about this type of character than I am for normal humans. Let's say that, okay? I just don't want to spoil anything that happens in books, if I can help it. Frankenstein. Who's your favourite villain who is maybe just misunderstood? I like Danny. I like Mrs. Danvers. I actually think she's so menacing to the second Mrs. De Winter, but I think she is misunderstood. I actually feel really sorry for her, as I feel sorry for both Rebecca and the second Mrs. De Winter. I think the actual villain in this book is Maxim, Mr. De Winter. The women are actually victims of him. All of them victims of him, including Danny, which is one of my favourite misunderstood villains in literature. You can use books for different answers for different prompts, because they do come up in other prompts. So, Pride and Prejudice. Which characters from fiction make up your favourite romantic relationship? I don't read romance novels. I don't like what we consider classic romance, which is why I have, getting the wrong book out now. This one wouldn't be considered a classic romance, but in Olive Again, she does meet her second husband. I think that's a realistic portrayal of love. I much rather see that kind of portrayal of love than the classic romance in literature. Absolutely love rom-coms in films and movies and in sitcoms. And in The Big Bang Theory, just watching that for about the billionth time in Netflix, love all the rom-com elements of that. But somehow in literature, I prefer more realistic descriptions of love and romantic love. So I'm going to say Olive Again. Let's see. The Count of Monte Cristo, your favourite revenge story. Have I skipped one? I hope not. Hopefully not. The Nothing Man. 2 stories, 1 killer, no mercy. That's why it's handy to have books, by the way, as your physical prompts. If I skip one, I'll go work it out. So, a revenge story. The Nothing Man. In this book, an author is writing a true crime novel, and she is the only survivor member of her family from one of his rampage killings, rapes and killings. And she's writing the true crime thing because it's never been solved. And she's writing how she hates him and how he's an idiot all through her true crime novel, knowing he's going to read it. And that's only the beginning of her revenge. So the most recent one, that has to be The Nothing Man. Kindred, in your opinion, what book handles emotional stakes best? Okay. I am going to say Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. Not everybody's going to like the way it's handled in here. It's very realistic, emotional stakes. So it's handled very realistically. But as a portrayal of emotional stakes recently, this was particularly a good portrayal of bullying of young teenagers. And yes, not everybody's going to live happily ever after this one. But I thought it was particularly well described. Sorry, see, I told you that the literary fiction can be way harsher than the horror. Oh yeah, I did skip one. Lady Chatterley's Lover, because I was looking at the book kind of going, Did I skip that question? What book is your favorite hot and bothered steamy scene? Okay, again, I don't read romance, and I don't read the kind of books that have insta love. It's a trope I hate, so I don't read them. So that limits my exposure to the steamy steams, I think. Steamy scenes in books. So I'm going to just name one that I'm reading recently that has a lot of sex in it, but it's not steamy at all. So I'm answering the question with the opposite. So in The Gathering, I think it's Victoria is the name of the protagonist. Her descriptions of sex are all over the gaff. And we're just going to have to deal because that's today. Welcome to today. And the lights went out. But you can see the pretty lights on the bookshelf instead. So you'd still see the book. So you got The Gathering, and writes a lot of sex, not steamy at all. So the opposite is, I'm giving you the opposite answer. Of course, now the light is off, it's hard to see, to read. And let me see. And then there were none. So this prompt is, what mystery or thriller is your favorite? Now, I can't actually, mysteries and thrillers are like roller coaster rides to me. I love to go on the roller coaster again and again and again and again and again and again. So they're fun while reading. And I recover pretty quickly. I just want to read another one. And I don't have a favourite. So I just thought I'd mention one which is from the horror genre, but it is a thriller, but kind of reminds me of And Then There Were None, and that this is 13 stories by Jonathan Sims. This one we have 13 interconnected stories of people who live in this building. And the owner of the building is going to has invited them all to dinner, and they meet ghosts and all sorts of things. And the question is, why are they all being invited to dinner, and what is going to happen when all 13 of these people meet at dinner that night? And it's also on the 13th floor, so there's 13 individual stories. It's very good interconnected stories. They're all connected to each other. You learn more and more about the evilness that is that building. And they all tell different kind of horror stories on the way. It's an intriguing concept. It's a very well written horror novel. The ending lets it down a bit, unfortunately. But up until that, it is high stakes. So I'm going to mention 13 stories. Okay, as we are now in the dark. What is your favourite animal sidekick? So that's from The Jungle Book. Mythical animals count too. So Hedwig from Harry Potter, which are the only J.K. Rowling I'm holding on to at the moment. That's all we'll say on her. Rebecca. So I see. I knew she came up with another prompt. Manderley is vivid and an integral part of the story that feels like another character. What is a book that was a vivid setting that is so real you feel you are there and when you read it? You can't get more vivid settings than William Faulkner. Sanctuary, which I haven't quite finished. But it's a very brutal book, and I just wasn't in the headspace for the sheer violence of this book. Again, literary fiction, harsher than horror. But you're not going to get much better than William Faulkner. And Call of the Cthulhu. It's not in Irish. It might be Celtic. It's not in Irish. So it's hard to pronounce. I think it's Norwegian or something. You can't see from this, but it's actually the birds. So the prompt is, what's your favorite horror story that you're glad isn't real? It's the birds. And if you've not watched this channel before, there are 3 budgies that live in this apartment, and if the birds came true, and birds really did attack people, so Daphne du Maurier's birds came true, I'd be a goner, so I'm very glad that's not true. Now, I'm supposed to tag people, and it's going to be a little bit impossible because my computer went off, which is why the light went off, because it's connected to the USB. So I'm just going to put some names in the show notes, because I did have some prepared, but I had them on the computer. But as always, if you don't want to do this tag, don't do it. But if you do want to do it and I haven't tagged you, of course you're tagged. And until next time, I hope whatever you're reading that you're enjoying it. Bye now.